Okay, good morning, everyone. We are going to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. It is 9 a.m. All council members are present, town manager, deputy town manager, town attorney, and town clerk. If you please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
As we gather today, let us take a moment to reflect on the values that guide us all: unity, integrity, resilience, and service to our community. We are reminded that our island has faced challenges, and yet our community has demonstrated remarkable strength. Through adversity, we have supported one another, and through change, we have remained committed to moving forward together. May that spirit of cooperation and shared purpose guide our discussions and decisions today. May you feel not only welcome, but supported as you join in the shared work in behalf of our community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before our next agenda item, the town attorney is going to give us some clarification.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public. The first item on today's agenda is a very important vote or action that the town council might be taking today. And so I just wanted to clarify, there has been some confusion perhaps regarding the voting requirement for the individual who would be appointed. We have focused in our deliberations and planning for today's meeting on section 4.08, which talks about the filling of vacancies. However, there is a section also in the town charter that talks about voting and the quorum. The issue that we find ourselves in today is the fact that one of our four members of your town council has publicly already announced a conflict of interest in voting on one of the individuals. So I do want to cite to you section 4.13, which is the voting quorum section of the town charter. And that reads, there is a section within that paragraph that says, no action of the council shall be valid or binding unless adopted by an affirmative vote of at least 3 members of the council, except in an emergency situation. So any individual who is voted upon in order to acquire the appointment would need to have three members of the town council voting for them. Unless, of course, there's a determination today found that this is an emergency situation that's needed. At that point, there could be less than 3 people voting affirmatively. To put it in context, it appears, however, it is council's discretion as to whether or not we are in an emergency situation. But I believe, in my opinion, that emergency situation arises when you have a hurricane or some other type of state of emergency, which we currently remain in one. where a quorum is present, 3 people are present. However, those 3 people may not agree on a vote to be taken during that emergency situation. So I did want to clarify today and try to get rid of any type of misunderstanding. It will require 3 votes for any of the individuals that have applied for the vacant position. And I too look forward. I think all of them are qualified, and I just want to have somebody sitting next to me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. Anyone have any questions for Nancy before we move forward? John?
No question, but we did have what appears in the resolution, and maybe it's a Scrivener's error or something because it's in conflict with the town charter. Nancy and I discussed it earlier, and
That is correct. And I apologize for that. And we will make the necessary changes. It can be viewed as a Scrivener's error, but we may bring it back to you just for a formal vote. At the very end of the resolution, it does have a catch-all provision that says, in the event any of the process that's contained in this resolution, which we did try to put that resolution together very quickly. If anything is in conflict with the charter, state law, or your code, those other authorities would override that. So technically it would be okay, but it would be my preference to go ahead and correct that. We'll look at it to see if it could be viewed as a Scrivener's error, or we will bring it back to you and have it corrected.
thank you.
Scott? Any?
Not this time.
Rebecca?
No, good catch.
Okay, our next item is the appointment to fill a town council seat number 4 with the term ending in November of 2026. There will be public comment first, followed by interviews from the 3 candidates. This public comment will be specific, correct, Nancy, to just the appointment. So we'll open up public comment now for anyone that would like to speak on this agenda item. Amy, you have anybody signed up?
I have nobody signed up.
All right. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on the appointment of the next counselor? Come on. We'll start on this side first. How about that? Come on. Yeah, go ahead. You'd be good on Family Feud. You were the first.
Sorry, I forgot to sign up. It was so warm in here today, I couldn't think. It's usually so cold. So good morning. My name is Terry Kane, 50-year resident of Fort Myers Beach. I'm here to speak in support of Tom Brady for the vacant seat on town council. I believe he understands the future vision of our community, and he understands the comprehensive plan. He supported, he was very much supported in the vote that we recently had. And I believe that the Islanders spoke, and I do believe that the Islanders know what they were voting for. It was not a popularity vote, as I've said before here. It was a policy vote. The people of this community know what they are doing. And so we know that we want in the future, we want a healthy, vibrant community. We are subject to change, although many people think we are not. We are. We've been through plenty of changes on this island. We've seen 2 bridges built. We've seen a road go through the middle of Times Square. We've seen all the beautiful coconut palms taken away from Estero Boulevard. We've been through a lot, and I'm not even counting the natural disasters we've had. So again, I think that the community, not only myself, would like to stand behind Tom Brady. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry. Bill, we're going to do this side first, then we'll come over there. Hold on a second. We're going to finish this side, and then we'll go to that side. How about that?
I Bill Veach, Estero Boulevard, for the record. Yeah, I just want to speak. I really got to know Tom through the activity that happened after Seagate went in. He was not part of the recall. I think he may have signed the petition, but he was not part of the committees. He's not active in that in any way. But he did step up and run. I don't think it was his preference. I think he was perfectly happy being apolitical. But he felt the calling. He felt the calling by listening to the people. And the people were very upset, very disillusioned after particularly the Seagate vote, thinking that their voices were not heard. The council was not listening. The council would just approve every development, no matter how hard it was, on the quiet center of the island and the single family homes. It's almost like there was a war going on against the quiet center, where every developer's dream had to take something out of the quiet center of the island. I got to know Tom through the process of resisting Seagate. I find him to be a very upstanding guy. I think he's a man of principle. I think he would just assume, like I said, not be political, but he really feels a true calling a public calling to serve the public, not to serve the developers. I also think that this vote for appointment is very weighty, and it's weighty because whoever you appoint will be voting on all the development issues that come through. So if you vote for somebody who has publicly bragged and is proud about voting for every development, that's what you're voting for going forward. So if you've taken a tact where you are a reasonable person and you are for responsible development and not giving extra densities and heights to developers who may, like just happened with the Neptune, just turn around and sell it. That is really what this vote is about. Restore balance to this council. Restore faith in the council, that the council is listening to the public and not just developers and not just certain podcasts, that you're actually listening to the people because they've spoken loudly. The recall, the petition had charges. That was to get the petition signed by state statute. Some of you may find it distasteful. I personally did. That's all state mandated. We follow the rules of the state. But once you're in the voting booth, it's specific in the rules. There is no talk about the allegations. It is just about, do you want to recall this person? And the voters spoke loudly. And then to replace them, they also spoke loudly. So I think if you want to be considered public servants, you have to listen to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone on this side want to have public comment? All right, come on up, sir. Can't see you behind Dave over there.
Okay, make sure you turn your mic on, please.
You gotta turn your mic, push the button there. There you go.
Mark Ludvigson, address 281 Ohio Avenue. Simply, Tom Brady is our only choice for town council. As we, the town, basically, we voted for him. Earlier, we basically lost faith somewhat in our council, and we spoke as a town, and we just hope you listen.
Mark? Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Our first person that we will be interviewing is Mr. Bolin. So is everybody staying here? Are they? What?
If we can ask Mr. Brady and Mr. McLean to follow Lizette, we're going to bring them out for this part. Then we'll
Bring them back in.
rotate in and out.
You
Yep.
got it. All right, Jim.
No time, correct?
It's 5 minutes, but
Are we ready?
I was just going to ask you the same thing.
Okay.
You want a couch or something?
Good morning, Mayor, council members, staff, and attendees. My application resume are in your packets, but let me start by summarizing my experience, background for the public. My career in local government spans almost 50 years. I have a bachelor's degree in landscape architecture, a master's in administration, and a Juris Doctorate in law. I have worked in both the private and public sectors. In the private sector, I've represented developers. In the public sector, I've been both an elected official and an appointed official. I was elected as Kendall County, Illinois Board Chairman from 1990 to 1995. In 1997, I was appointed Town Administrator for the community of Bolingbrook, which is about 70,000 persons. In that capacity, I was responsible for the supervision of approximately 300 employees and an annual operating budget of over $100 million. In 2007, I went back into private practice, concentrating in local government. My practice was in the areas of zoning, land use, public finance, and economic development. In 2022, I was appointed to the local planning agency. I'm also vice president of the Mantanza Point HOA and past member of Let's Go FMB Peer Committee. Hurricane Ian changed our little island forever. Based on new rules and codes, it'll never look the same. My goal is to preserve as much of the flavor and vibe of the old island as possible. To that end, we must balance responsible growth and the pace of recovery. I will be guided by what is best for the 5,500 residents of Fort Myers Beach, not outside influences, special interests, or social media chatter. The recently revised comprehensive plan and local development code are guideposts for redevelopment. To those who say nothing is happening, we need more activity, the response is there are only a limited number of barrier islands and only so much beachfront property. Redevelopment is happening and will continue to happen. However, the town can't force landowners to sell vacant lots. And once the town approves a project, the pace of rebuilding is up to the landowner, their financing, consultants, and market conditions. While the development of the island is center stage for much of the community, there are other challenges and policy questions that the town council must deal with. This year's levy is $5,170,600 and represents 38.97% of the general fund revenues. Sixth budget has $10 million less than the 2025 budget due to loss of hurricane recovery monies. Combine that with the threat of the state to reduce or eliminate property taxes, where will the funds come from to operate the town and provide services? There are many other challenges facing us: the status of the beach school, the pier rebuild, parking, traffic congestion, permitting and inspections, developing a strategic and long-range capital improvement plan. All of these items need to be addressed, and I think I can help navigate through these issues. I would also like to offer some thoughts about possible solutions. Construction of a wave wall could be built by creating a special service area. An SSA would not directly affect any of the town's finances. Can we stimulate redevelopment of Times Square and Old San Carlos by offering incentives to businesses, such as sales tax sharing, partial real estate tax rebates, or fee waivers? Would an intergovernmental agreement with the county or entering into a public-private partnership be feasible to build a parking deck supported by the issuance of revenue bonds? Finally, I'd like to explain why on the question about potentially running in November, I filled in undecided. If the filing period were today, I would file. At the time I filed the application, it was uncertain whether the position was for 2 or 4 year term. There are any number of unknown reasons that can affect a candidate's decision to file between now and November. In closing, I have the time, the commitment, the desire to serve. I believe based on experience, expertise, and background, I am uniquely qualified to fill the open council position. Thank you for allowing me the time to make my presentation and considering my application.
All right, thank you, Jim. Now we'll go to the town council question period. Would you guys like to ask both your questions, or would you like to do one at a time like we did for the town manager? Either way, it doesn't matter to me. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think,
One at a time?
Yeah.
Okay, you okay with that, Rebecca?
That's fine.
All right, then we'll start with you.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
So first, a statement that I will read to you as well as the other candidates, and my questions will be exactly the same. I'm sure you already knew that, but just to repeat it for the record. So I want to thank you for being here and your willingness to serve, Jim. This morning, my goal is to hear how each of you approach decision-making, especially on redevelopment, fiscal sustainability, and the unique constraints of our barrier island. So that's kind of my focus. So my first question to you, Jim, is when you evaluate a major redevelopment proposal on Fort Myers Beach, what specific factors carry the most weight in your decision? How do you prioritize between fiscal impact, infrastructure capacity, property rights, and community character?
Well, that's a whole bundle.
I know.
Well, I think any project that is proposed, it's always a balancing act. We're faced with the comprehensive plan that's been recently updated. That sort of creates the parameters or the outside that it's a blank canvas that we're working with. There are a number of tools that go into that, and that can be variances, deviations, zoning, public benefits, variances. All of those things are aspects of the comprehensive plan, and they all have to be weighed. In addition to that, there's the public comments and the neighbor's viewpoint. So as you weigh all those things, you have to come to a decision on whether or not the proposed development meets the comprehensive plan, the spirit of the comprehensive plan, and whether or not it's right for that community. What could be right at the north end is not necessarily right at the south end. And every individual site is unique. Now, as far as the aspect of the impact on infrastructure, we've talked for a long time about having impact fees. And as we see what happens with 180, once it expires, I think we need to address getting a feasibility study done on what we can look for and impact fees, and we should implement those. Those will help with off-site impacts of the development.
Thank you, Jim.
John?
Jim, thanks. What votes in the coming months do you see yourself having to recuse yourself?
What do I, excuse me?
Any votes in the coming months that you would see that you'd have to recuse yourself?
I see no votes that I'll have to recuse myself from.
Thank you.
Scott?
Jim, thanks so much for being here and thanks for your service on the LPA. I've got kind of a direct question. You touched on it. I think one of the biggest challenge our town faces is the development of smaller boutique lots. You touched on a few things, but can you go into a little bit more detail of how we can get these lots activated?
Well, I guess there's a couple of ways to answer that. One, I think that the development agreement process has been, I won't say, I guess, misused, but not the way it was intended. I think that needs to be tweaked so that we actually target some of the smaller commercial lots. As far as getting the vacant lots moving, if there's a way to come up with incentives that would help some people make the decision to sell or buyers to make the decision to purchase, we ought to explore that to try and get some of these vacant lots moving. But ultimately, the market forces, I don't think the town council can control.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jim, for stepping up and being one of the, what I think are three very good candidates for this position. In your view, what would you say the town has been doing effectively since the hurricane? And what would you do, or what would you suggest in improving what could be done to make it even better?
Well, I don't think anybody's prepared for a disaster like Ian. And so the immediate reaction is trying to stabilize what is caused by the damage. I think the town did an adequate job early, but did not communicate well with the public. I would hope that there is an emergency operation manual that's current, that is a guideline, so that as elected officials, we are in a position that somebody has thought through the step-by-step what we need to do. As far as what can we do better, I think we've all heard that the issues with permitting and inspections, is there an opportunity to either come up with outside third-party qualified vendors to assist in plan reviews and inspections, whether or not we can come up with a identifiable portal that can tell people exactly where the steps are, what project is, what has been approved, what the next step is, and a couple of other recommendations, maybe, look at seasonal increases in our parking fees. We need to monitor House Bill 1049 that would eliminate permits under $7,500. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities to move forward and make the beach a better place.
All right, thank you. Rebecca?
Ready for my second question?
Okay, I thought maybe I already hit on that.
It's just a follow-up for my first one. So Fort Myers Beach is a 7-mile barrier island with limited evacuation routes and infrastructure constraints. How do you determine when additional development intensity becomes a long-term risk rather than a benefit?
Well, the infrastructure question has always been a problem for the beach with one way on and one way off. Evacuations, as I stated, hopefully there's a current emergency operations manual and that you can stage leaving the island. And that's based on notices and actually getting the word out so people know. But it's not just emergency evacuations, it's water, it's sewer, it's traffic. All of those things have an impact on what exists here on the island and need to be evaluated as part of any development.
Thank you.
John?
Explain what it means to act in a quasi-judicial role, please.
Where was I in the quasi-judicial world?
No, explain what it means to act in that role as a council member.
Quasi-judicial role? Well, judicial being that you're a final decision maker. Quasi-judicial means that, you're making a decision, but you're also a fact finder. So it's a balance between the two.
Jim, you touched a little bit on the town's current budget and reserves and financial position. If selected to serve, what priorities or improvements would you recommend for both short-term and long-term stability, and why?
Well, I would say the biggest red flag I see is that we have $70 million worth of long-term debt. That needs to be addressed. We need to pursue trying to get the state and FDEM to forgive almost $20 million that they've loaned to us. The long-term finances of the town, need to be looked at as far as let's get a long-term capital improvement plan and overlay that into the both debt service and future needs. So as far as operating budget, there's been a lot of discussion about the millage rate and what we should do on real estate taxes. But real estate taxes are almost 39% of the general fund's revenue. That seems pretty high. We ought to look at other options, that whatever they may be, to try and reduce that reliance on property taxes. Does that answer the full question?
Yes. There's one thing missed was reserves. What do you think are, can I ask?
Reserves?
Well, yeah, we'll save that.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to do a follow-up after. because
Okay.
Give you a break for a second. Jim, as we continue to navigate recovery, redevelopment, and long-term resiliency, how would you approach your policy decision-making powers to balance economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and quality of life for residents?
Well, all three of those have to be balanced on every decision you make. So each project, each decision you make is unique to whatever the circumstances are there. So I don't think there's an overall way you can say this is more important than that. It depends on the site, whether it's, environmental conservatorship, that is going to be important in areas that are adjacent to sensitive areas. I guess all three of those have to be balanced on all decisions.
Okay, follow-up questions. Scott, yours is fresh in your mind.
Yeah, my first one was, what do you think the status of our reserves are, and how, if you feel they're deficient, how would you improve them?
Well, according to the audit, and there's a difference between the 24 audit, which is the information we have, and the 26 budget. So in the 24 audit, the reserves and overall fund balance of all funds increased by $7 million, which is a nice step showing that in 24, we were adding to the value of the beach. So is there a magic number for reserves? No, because you don't know what disaster you're planning for. But I would hope that we would have 2 years worth of operating revenue in reserves.
Very good. Thank you.
John, any follow-up questions?
None.
Rebecca?
No, thank you, Jim.
I do have one, Jim. I know my question is very open-ended, and it gives those who have probably done this in the past a very easy out. So I'm going to put you a little bit on the hot seat, and everyone else for that matter. Of the three things, economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and quality of life for residents, if you had to rank those in order from 1 to 3 in your decision-making processes, what would you rank first, second, and third?
As I said, those three would have to be ranked based on a specific question or a specific site. So they don't rank the same on all development.
Thanks, Jim.
That's it? Oh,
Oh, we're just getting started. Yeah.
You
Thank
can
you.
go take a nap,
Yeah.
though.
All right, next we'll take just a few seconds to get Mr. Brady.
Now, does Jim have to leave the room there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Amy.
We'll bring all three back after the personal
He
interviews.
may want to get a drink of water. All right, Tom, you have about 5 minutes for your opening statement. Then we'll have 2 questions from each council member, and then potentially some follow-up or clarification questions after that.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. After announcing my candidacy for town council last September, I spent 5 weekends and several weekdays going door to door across the island, speaking directly to voters. I also met with community groups at Bay Beach Lane and Mosquito Control District. Those conversations mattered. They changed some of my views on development, taxes, the school, and wave mitigation. That's exactly how it should be. Serving the council is about listening to the public. If you vote on an issue and you were surprised afterwards about public reaction, that's a sign that you may not have been in touch with the voters beforehand. I spoke with young people who grew up here, attended Beach School, and hope to return someday to raise their own families. This perspective influenced me. Thank you, Christian and Christy. Listening to residents, full-time, part-time, young and old, will always take precedence over the interests of developers who come and go. I take phone calls, I answer every email. As for the budget and the taxes, we must build and maintain resources and reserves strong enough to carry us through another catastrophic event. No one wants more taxes, but contributing a smaller amount now to projects and emergency funds will prepare us for the future. I believe code compliance is underfunded as we suffer from abandoned houses, short-term rentals, 50% unregulated, and we need people managing the traffic with stoplights until pedestrian crossings are debugged. Even though there's been a slight pullback in the market, the tax base appears strong as new builds come in as much higher valuations. Most of the residents I spoke to are not day traders on this island. We are not here for short-term gains. We are here for the long term. We believe in the long-term strength of the island, and Lee County Tax Collector has indicated that the long-term outlook is strong. The real question is, what kind of community holds value over time? One built for quick returns or one built for resilience, livability, and families? To prepare myself for this position, I have watched nearly every town council meeting since Hurricane Ian and most LPA meetings. I participated in the strategic planning sessions at Bay Oaks and the comprehensive plan sessions at the library. I've read the IGM Metro forecasting model report. I also watched the sunshine videos and public disclosure videos. The toughest decisions facing town council are not about land use. They're about the budgets, the school, business development, grants, taxes, strategic planning, and communications with residents. Those are decisions that require preparation and balance, and most of all, critical thinking. As for development, this island did not grow through a grand master plan. It developed piece by piece. The town was incorporated, the comprehensive plan laid out a plan, but parts of that plan were ignored, set aside to accommodate large development proposals. We do need development, but we need human scale development. We don't need home runs on development projects, massive projects that take years to materialize or stall out entirely. We need singles. We need small, shovel-ready projects that reflect how this island was originally built. I'm not anti-development and I am not anti-progress, but I'm also not in favor of unchecked growth that destroys neighborhoods. As for my priorities, I want to see the school return, perhaps even exploiting additional educational options such as Catholic school or other church-led schools. Explore every opportunity, understand what our power is in those negotiations. I'd like to see an acceleration of the town's adoption of digital workflows and AI-driven systems that free up staff to focus on more high-level work. I'd like to see an overhaul of the financial reporting, and I will contribute to all these things. Clear dashboards that give residents a line of sight into the town's finances and performance, and a metrics-driven organization. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And above all, we need transparency across all levels of our government. And of course, incentives for small businesses such as incubation zones. On Protect FMB, I did not sue the town. I asked for judicial review. I will always stand up for the residents. I cannot support projects that compromise quality of life of neighborhood homeowners. Protect FMB is about protecting that and giving a stronger voice to the people. The island belongs to its residents. I am committed to thoughtful growth, fiscal responsibility, modernization, and above all, representing the people who call this island home. A special thanks to all those that sent in emails supporting my appointment and spoke today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Rebecca?
Good morning, Tom.
Morning.
Take a breath. So I'm going to just make a quick statement that I'm making to all three candidates. I'd like to make it to you as well. I want to first say thank you for being here and your willingness to serve. This morning, my goal is to hear how you will approach decision-making, especially for redevelopment. How do you approach fiscal responsibility, considering the unique constraints of our barrier island? Okay, so that's my focus on my questions. So my first question is, when you evaluate a major redevelopment on Fort Myers Beach, what specific factors carry the most weight in your decision-making? Do you prioritize fiscal impact, infrastructure capacity, property rights, or community character?
I would prioritize community character and adherence to the comprehensive plan first. We need to keep that in mind. The founders of this island were good thinkers. They captured, and it's been revised on what we want the character of this island to look like. Of course, all those other things bear into my decision-making also, but I think you walk into these projects with an open mind, and then you ask questions to find out what really are the benefits of having this project come into the town, and then you listen to the residents. I think I said that maybe it was on Ed's show that I said that, well, if all the residents agreed, then I would certainly look at it. Well, that's not absolutely true, because if the residents all said they wanted a 40-story building next door to them, I don't think I could agree to that. There's an overall community of the island also that impacts the decision-making, saying that, you know, it needs to make sense within that community. If the neighboring buildings are of a certain height and the building comes in at that height and the comp plan says it's only 30 feet over flood, then I would give careful consideration to what the residents said nearby, but I would be hard pressed to feel that, or that have to be outstanding public benefit based on what the actual public came back and said as to the benefits of that before I could say that that building would make sense for the island.
Thank you.
John?
Thank you, Tom. What votes in the coming months would you see yourself having to recuse yourself from?
I don't think I need to recuse myself of anything that's currently coming down the pike for the island.
Scott?
Tom, I want to thank you. This is big. So we've had some good conversations over the last couple of weeks, and I want to thank you for your time. My question to you is, I feel that one of the challenges on our island right now in our regrowth and redevelopment is, how do we activate these smaller commercial lots? You talked about incubation thing. What would be your angle to help this town get projects going on those smaller lots?
Well, if I could provide incentives, I would. The community redevelopment is a way to take future tax money and apply it to those projects. If that would help, I think that would be a good thing. I do not want to stand in the way of any of those things happening. As I said, that's the way this island grew, was from a grassroots effort of these small businesses coming in. And I think that's the future of the island, because it happens much quicker rather than these ginormous projects that may not even get built. If we can relieve some of those barriers, then that's what I would like to see. In addition, I was really heartened when council directed town manager to negotiate with property owners that currently have property that could be rented out. So I think that we should continue those negotiations, looking for some kind of mutual point that we can rest on, and that will provide opportunities of space that's already there to bring those buildings back. The rest of the things you voted on, things like the ice cream store, the beach bar, they are coming back. The goods will come back. I think that looking at Tom's property in La Ola and even the changes that he makes with the wave mitigation wall and helping those kind of projects through the system will help redevelop these properties that have been stalled for a period of time. But I'm glad to see that there's been a lot of action on the island, particularly, well, you've approved a lot of projects, but not all of them have gotten started. And I would like to see that, smaller ones seem to get kicked off much quicker. And I think if we can get more people to come forward and make that happen. Now, business is driven by business. We can't force business to come on the island, but we can entice them in certain ways with CRA or other incentives to bring them onto the island. And I would investigate funding those in every possible way. There is a lot of federal funding, state funding, county funding to make that happen. And I think we ought to explore those avenues to help and be a champion for those businesses to help bring those kind of funds into the island to help them redevelop.
Wow. Thank you.
All right, Tom, again, as I said to Jim, and I'll say it to you, and I'll say it to John, I appreciate you taking the opportunity to step up and be a public servant for the town. It's not always easy. It takes commitment, and we're very fortunate that we have 3 very qualified candidates to fill this vacancy today. In your opinion, or in your view, what do you feel is working well within the town, and what would you do to improve the overall effectiveness?
I think the town has done a fantastic job of recovering from the hurricane. The focus, the attention, the determination of all council members has been phenomenal. And we've made so much progress. There are some things that we could do better to make more progress, I think. Getting small businesses back on the island, because I'd love to solve the traffic problem. I'd love to stand up and say, I'm going to solve the traffic problem, but that's probably not going to happen. But I would like to get the data and the metadata from the tag readers to figure out where the people are coming and going. But I do believe that the small businesses on the island could alleviate some of that traffic problem. So there's a real reason why we need to bring small businesses back on this island. But I have been concerned. It's gotten quite a bit better, but I was really concerned about code compliance. I live on a street, and it's turned into all short-term rentals, even though they're monthly rentals, but they're short-term rentals, and they take their garbage cans out 3 days early. They leave them out for weeks. I call the town, nothing seems to happen. I think it's the broken windows effect. I think that, you need to solve those small problems, the broken windows, before the community turns better as a whole. And I was concerned that we had a lot of broken windows on the island, abandoned properties, overgrown properties. So I think code compliance needs a lot of focus and attention. And I was concerned when we adopted a budget, that you adopted a budget that did not support additional funding for that, even though the town manager had asked for that. So I think that I would like to see that increased also. And the last thing that I've commented on is I had wished that the budget discussions had gone more to a consensus decision making, that we all got together. Nobody likes more taxes, me least of all, anybody. But if they're short-term projects, if they're directly focused at something like code compliance, or like putting officers on the street where they can direct traffic, where we can at least make the traffic flow to the maximum extent possible through downtown, I would absolutely support those kind of initiatives. And I think it would make the town a better place to be. And I would keep a reserve in there for more money for Lee Sheriff's Office, which we had in the budget too, and then was cut. I think that would be a good thing to have for future concerns on the island, law enforcement.
Thank you. Rebecca?
So I'm at my second question, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. So Tom, Fort Myers Beach is a 7-mile barrier island, as you know, with limited evacuation routes and infrastructure constraints. How do you determine when additional development intensity becomes a long-term risk rather than a benefit?
Well, I think at this stage, any additional intensity is a long-term risk. We are governed by this traffic problem, and it constrains how many people we can hold on this island. And that's probably the biggest infrastructure cost. Now, could there be game changers out there that come in? Sure, we could, this will get me in trouble. We could have drones flying people back and forth, and it's theoretically possible. Of course, helicopters have raised a lot of concern on the island, so I don't know that we could stand the noise of drones going back and forth. But there could be some game changer solutions that come, but I would not count on another bridge or, helicopters carrying people or drones carrying people back and forth. It doesn't look like anyone stepped up to run a ferry service that would run back and forth, because it may not be financially viable, and we can't force that to happen. Although it is an interesting concept, other towns do that, including Venice, Italy, I suppose, runs their own bus service with water taxis. But we're constrained by the road, and that really hurts us for all the additional development on the island. If we keep adding, when we figure out better ways to run the traffic and it's running at its maximum throughput after we analyze, we got about another year of data to collect on the current intersections, and we understand that we can't get any more traffic to this, and we would be in pain if we had approved projects that have additional intensity on this island, bring more people on the island. So I think we struggle with where we're at today. I think any increase in that is problematic.
Thank you, Tom.
John?
Explain what it means to act in a quasi-judicial role.
Well, since council members aren't official judges, we can't, and all the judicial rules do not apply, and don't ask me all the judicial rules. I'm not an attorney, but there is a subset of the judicial rules that apply during quasi-judicial hearings. And I think the public would love to see that those remain purely quasi-judicial and council members don't try to litigate from the bench. And I know it's difficult to do that because council members are also legislators. So they do enact laws. But I think the discussions at council should keep away from that and just base their decisions based on the facts that are presented to them in that court of law. Judges cannot rule on things that they hear outside of the court of law. They can only rule on what they hear inside of that courtroom. And I think when it comes to some of these heavy decisions, now there are little decisions and there was big decisions. On the great big decisions, I think we should keep it as purely as judicial as it possibly can be without the council members being judges. But I think the most critical one to me is that we just listen to evidence that's presented during that session, and we make our ruling based on that evidence that is presented during the session.
Thank you.
Scott?
Tom, you touched on a lot of this in your answer to Dan's question, but as a follow-up, how do you feel our town's current budget and reserves are currently, and what improvements would you make for both short-term and long-term sustainability?
The reserves absolutely worry me. And because we can't be self-insured, we ought to be fully insured because we can't be self-insured. So we buy a lot of insurance, but we also need cash flow when those bad situations happen, or we need matching funds for when those bad situations happen. And that's what those reserves are for, to get us through that hump. We get a lot of money from the state and federal government, but we need to protect ourselves against the small events, even if it's just cash flow, until the payments come in, or we don't know whether the payments are going to come in. So that's why I support boosting those reserves. I don't have a magic number in mind for what those reserves should be, but they seem woefully low right now. And unfortunately, Scott, I don't know what the levers are to pull in the budget to get more money. That's one part of the transparency in the financials. The financials aren't presented the way they've always been presented to me in the past. We operate on a quasi-accrual or modified accrual basis for accounting, and it does not resonate with me. I'm used to balance sheets and things like that. And when we call a loan an asset, I don't think of that as an asset, but I get it. There is a difference in government accounting that I'm not used to. But I can't see those levers. And the levers would be things like, well, people said, well, the impact fees are going to help us out of this situation. They don't help you. You can't gain anything on an impact fee. It can only apply to what the actual incurred expenses are associated with a new building coming in. So forget that one. Now, there's a lot of other things that are the same way in our budget that the state or someone else says, well, you can't pull that lever because it's only for cost recovery. I don't know what all the ones are levers that we can pull. I know that the fees are some of the levers that we can pull on this island. Unfortunately, the budget's locked in for a year now. I don't know which one of those levers make any sense to happen now, but I think it's probably anticipating the impact of the next budget cycle as we go forward of what can we figure out to which lever can we pull and which one should we pull. And there ought to be a lot of discussion around that to help us build back those reserves.
Great, thank you.
Tom, as we continue to navigate recovery, redevelopment, and long-term resilience, how would you approach your policy decision-making role to balance economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and our quality of life for residents?
Well, that's the magic sauce. It's this critical thinking mind. You got to be a little bit skeptical of everything. You got to ask these detailed, in-depth questions of everybody that comes before you. But you got to begin with a beginner's mind, with an open mind that says, okay, I'm going to get rid of all my prejudices. I'm going to set them aside. I'm going to listen to what the people say. I'm going to listen to what the builders say. I'm going to listen to what the town manager and the finance people. I'm going to listen to gather input from all these people, and then say, okay, what does this make sense to me on the whole with my life history applied to that too? So it's boiling that down into, you've got to keep all those people happy. This is it's not just a three-legged stool, it's a five-legged stool. We got visitors, we got residents, we've got short-term people, we got commercial, we got developers, we got all these people, and there's a balance that happens between all those different points of view. There's not a magic formula, there's not one answer. It's about thinking about and evaluating. I create matrices to help myself evaluate things. I lay it out, I weight those matrices, and then I make my decision based on, or I formulate a decision based on applying what I've heard to these matrices with a weighting factor, and then that's how I base my decision.
Okay. Follow-up questions, John? Anything?
Yeah, I have a couple. I'm confused, and I see it as a contradiction, and I hope you can clarify for me, because you talk about listening to constituents and doing what they ask, but then for the budget process, the huge majority of the constituents we heard from were against any tax increase, so you'd go against that. You also said you wouldn't support what the neighbors wanted if they wanted it in their area. So I'm confused about that, and it's a contradiction to me.
Is that a question? I guess I'm,
I'd
Just
like
wanna-
to, I'd like to clarify, yeah.
Okay.
It's a clarifying question on what I see as a
Would
contradiction.
would my three voters care to have me answer that question? Or this guy can't vote for me, so.
He can still ask questions, and he's still a council member.
I'm going to leave it up to you, Tom, to decide if you want to answer that or not.
Yeah, me too.
It sounds like an accusation, not a question. I don't understand what the question is in there.
Okay.
Another clarifying question for me then is, you talked about how you're still involved with Project Protect FMB. They're engaged in a legal action against the town. How is that not a conflict for a possible London Bay vote coming up? You said you wouldn't have any conflicts.
Protect FMB serves as a 501c3 that serves to protect the interest of those residents on the island. That's all it does. It asks for judicial review. It is a appeal. It is not a lawsuit against the town. Every single court decision, every single judge has had an appeal raised about the decisions that they make. You act as quasi-judicial judges. It's okay to be appealed. You should not take that as an offense. It's a legal avenue. Now, it's not, I am not, my name is not on that lawsuit. It is about
You
the.
just said it wasn't a lawsuit. Now it's a
Well,
lawsuit.
sorry, it is not a lawsuit. We're going to play this game. That's nice. And you're funny. You got me. Ha ha. The,
Well, hold on. We're both adults here. Let's
Well-
keep it on point. Please, John, and please, Tom. Just let's get through this. I know it's uncomfortable for everybody, but let's just get through it. Continue.
I think I've said enough. It is a writ, it is a judicial review, and that's what it asks for.
Anything else, John?
No, thank you.
Okay. Rebecca, any follow-up questions for Tom?
No, thank you, Tom.
Scott?
No, thank you, Tom.
I do have just one. My last question was very open-ended and it was done on purpose because it's easy to answer that question. But in this position, sometimes you get asked very hard questions that you have to make hard decisions. So I'm going to ask a follow-up question on that last question. If I asked you to rank the three items that I laid out, economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and quality of life for residents in 1, 2, and 3 on how you would approach your policy-making decisions on votes that come before you, how would you answer that question?
Residents, environment, financial.
Thank you. There's nothing else? Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Last, we'll have Mr. John McLean.
So Mayor, if anyone was wondering, our tech staff member is working the computer. So as soon as you guys vote, the computer's ready to go.
Okay.
So we were not looking at anything, no cheat notes or anything. So if anybody,
Yeah,
the
this one came to
computer
life. I
just
thought it was
started having a mind of
spam or
its own.
something.
Technology.
Yeah.
Whichever side.
It's up to you. So you're going to have 5 minutes or so for your opening statement, followed by two rounds of questions from the council members and potentially a third follow-up question.
Sounds great.
Just need you to move up to the mic so we can. The timer is
morning.
above my pay grade, John. Sorry.
No, all good. Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of Town Council, staff, and fellow residents. My name is John McLean, and I'm honored to stand before you as an applicant for the open seat on Fort Myers Beach Town Council. Fort Myers Beach is more than just a place I call home. It is a community I care deeply about and have been committed to for over a decade. Since becoming a homeowner in 2014 and a full-time resident in 2019, I've witnessed firsthand both the challenges and the extraordinary resilience of our island. The devastation of Hurricane Ian tested us all, but it also revealed the strength and resilience of our community. In the years since, I've dedicated myself to understanding the issues facing our town, participating in its recovery, and contributing to a future that honors our history while preparing us for long-term sustainability. What inspires me most is the remarkable resurgence we've seen across Fort Myers Beach. The reopening of the lighthouse was a beacon of hope, quickly followed by the emergence of Margaritaville and Wahoo Willie's, which brought renewed energy and optimism to our island. Old San Carlos and the Bayside have come alive again with cherished establishments like Snug Harbor, Nervous Nellies, and Yucatan, welcoming residents and visitors alike. At the south end, we've seen not just CVS, Publix, and 7-Eleven return, but the rebirth of Santini Plaza with beloved businesses such as the Islander and Annette's Book Nook, new openings like, I can never pronounce it, Lango, Badass Coffee Surfside, and the all-important hardware and liquor store. Further fueled our momentum. The rebirth and remarkable success of the Whale and Beach Bar stand as a testament to our determination and our spirit. After Hurricane Ian, I attended nearly every town council meeting and most LPA meetings, simply wanting to understand and contribute to FMB's recovery efforts. This consistent engagement has given me a deep understanding of the comprehensive plan, the land development code, and the complex policy decisions and questions that influence our recovery. I've also been actively involved in community-driven efforts, including early volunteer work with Let's Go FMB, where I led the residential community committee to ensure our residents' voices were heard during the earliest stages of our rebuilding. My service on the Land Planning Agency has strengthened my commitment to supporting responsible redevelopment. I was honored to be selected by council to fill the seat vacated by Scott Safford when he joined the council. In this role, I've worked to bring a thoughtful, balanced, and resident-focused perspective to land use decisions that will shape our community for decades. I have no commercial development interests on the island beyond owning and operating a single vacation home rental. This allows me to approach each issue with independence, fairness, and a clear focus on moving our island forward. Professionally, I bring more than 3 decades of executive leadership experience, including global negotiations, strategic planning, and consensus building. These skills translate directly to a collaborative, detailed-oriented work required of a council member. I'm comfortable evaluating complex information, listening to diverse opinions and viewpoints, and making decisions that balance long-term vision with practical realities. We're at a crossroads. The momentum we've built is extraordinary, but it is not to be taken for granted. If we stifle redevelopment efforts now, we risk stalling the rebirth of Fort Myers Beach. My desire to serve on town council is rooted in a simple belief: Fort Myers Beach deserves leaders who are committed, informed, and deeply invested in the well-being of our community. I want to contribute to a future where we will build stronger and smarter, protect our coastal environment, support responsible redevelopment, and preserve the unique character and vibe that makes this island so special. I would be honored to continue serving the residents of Fort Myers Beach in this expanded capacity and to help guide our town through this pivotal moment in its history. I want to thank you for your service, each of you, but I also want to thank Jim and Brenda Adderholt. Jim's remarkable, tireless advocacy for our island, his selfless, integrity-driven, true servant leadership was an absolute inspiration to me. Thank you all for your consideration.
Thanks, John. Now you're going to have the first round of questions. Rebecca's going to start us off.
Great. Good morning, John.
Morning, Rebecca.
Thank you for being here and for your willingness to serve. This morning, my goal is to hear how you would approach decision-making, okay, especially on redevelopment. Fiscal sustainability, considering the unique constraints of our barrier island. Okay, so that's my focus.
Okay.
So my first question is, when you evaluate a major redevelopment proposal on Fort Myers Beach, what specific factors carry the most weight in your decision making? And how do you prioritize between fiscal impact, infrastructure capacity, and property rights, as well as our community character?
Well, I think property rights are extremely important and kind of the bedrock of what we all have as our investment here on this island. When I look at these projects, number one, I would say that I am heavily researched in them. I like to think that I come completely prepared and informed. And it's important for me personally, to feel like I have a variety of inputs, right? Of different different thoughts, different viewpoints. And then when we look at these things, we try and balance them between obviously what is acceptable and allowable, right? And then what does the process enable us to take a look at the projects and consider them, right? They need to be consistent and conforming with the comprehensive plan, obviously land development code as well. We have the opportunity to grant variances and plan developments. And it's ensuring, in my mind, that a project is compatible with the island. Some may not agree with what I consider to be compatible to what they may consider to be compatible. I'm okay with that. I think diverse viewpoints are important. But that's the way I evaluate a project.
Great, thank you.
John?
Thanks, John. What votes in the coming months do you see yourself having to recuse yourself from?
None.
Thank you.
Scott?
Boy, that was fast. John, thanks for your service on the LPA. And thanks for being so engaged in the community since Hurricane Ian. You're truly a leader, as well as the other two gentlemen that are applying. My question to you revolves around development of the more challenging lots, the smaller size lots.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, could we do better to encourage those small places like the Whale or the Beach Bar, which are the only two that have been built so far?
Yeah.
What's your opinion of how we can do a better job as a council to get those lots moving?
Yeah, appreciate the question, Scott. It's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge, but I think there are things that we can do around creating incentives and ensuring that we enable the type of redevelopment that fits with whatever the parcel will be. And quite frankly, I have shown through my votes that I'm willing to step outside of the envelope in order to help businesses come back and flourish and the recovery of this island. And what I mean by that is not turning away from our comp plan or our LDC at all, but it's in taking the properties that we have and developing them smartly, right? I mean, some of the things that we are able to do to help encourage investment in the island, I think we could be more proactive with that. And it's not just a land development issue, it's a financing issue, it's a regulatory issue. There are other mechanisms that we need to be looking at, because I don't think it's just enough to say we want them back. We actually have to help them back.
Thank you.
Hi, John, thanks for taking the time to come here today. Obviously, put your name in the hat for your service on the LPA. As I've said to the other two candidates, we're fortunate. We have three very highly qualified candidates to fill Councilman or Vice Mayor Adderholt's role, which is going to be tough shoes to fill, but I think we have three candidates that can easily do that. So thank you for putting your name into the hat, for lack of a better term, for today. My first question is, in your view, what is working well within the town today, and what would you do to improve the overall effectiveness?
So I would say, truly, I think that the town is operating in a more professional way than it has since I've been paying attention, and it's only evolved, and it's been such a pleasure to see the stewardship through the town manager, through our initial recovery efforts with our interim managers, that Andy come in and establish a level of professionalism and quite frankly, customer service around things like permitting. I mean, we were all trying to figure out something that we had never dealt with before. And then, Andy came in and I think he really helped develop the staff. I think the staff have been encouraged to grow. And then we had that, the change where we now have Will in, and it's just another layer of professionalism on top. And I think what we've really done is demonstrate not just resilience, but growth in the way that the town is being operated, quite frankly. I'm really heartened by that. I think there's always going to be questions and things that we can do better. I think that we could be using technology way more than we are right now within the town. I think there's great opportunities to do that. And we see it with the redesign of the website. We see it with the tools that are coming in, the change of the portal for rental property. All of these things are really significantly modernizing our town. And I'm really heartened by that. I think that's great. What could we do better? We just have to continue this focus on resident-focused customer service. I really think it is a priority, but it's not something I think we can let off on. I think the other thing that we could be doing as a town a little bit better is probably some more commercial development. I don't know that we do enough on that perspective. That's a difficult answer to come up with, but we've got a lot of really smart people on this island with a lot of really good ideas, and we should be open and listening to them.
Thank you. Rebecca?
I have no follow-up. I'm good.
No, you got a second question.
Oh, I didn't ask my second question.
Here to help.
I have deja vu. Thank you. John,
Yes,
I have a second question.
please. I'd
Here it
love
is.
to answer it.
Here it is. Thank you, Mayor. Fort Myers Beach, as you know, is a 7-mile barrier island with limited evacuation routes and infrastructure constraints.
Yes.
How do you determine when additional development intensity becomes a long-term risk rather than a benefit?
Yeah, that is, quite frankly, I think that's the biggest question we wrestle with, or at least I consider. People would be surprised to know that some of the opinions that I've made, decisions or votes that I've taken are more difficult than some of the others. And quite frankly, the ones that increase the amount of density have been the hardest ones that I've had to make a decision to approve. And that is specifically about how it impacts not just the traffic, but the infrastructure that we have to support our island, right? So while I understand and I do hear and listen that people are most concerned about height, I absolutely understand that. I honestly believe that density is a greater threat to our island than height, personally. I know many may disagree with me, but that's how I feel.
Thank you.
John?
Explain what it means to act in a quasi-judicial role, please.
So it's really important. We've had this discussion. In fact, it's come up quite a bit about whether or not LPA members, council members should be meeting with developers, whether they should be meeting with, quite frankly, I've been very clear that I think that that's all very beneficial, not just with developers, but with community organizations, with residents, with everybody. And the reason is it allows, at least for me, it allows me to be more informed about different viewpoints and to really understand kind of what the goals are of not just the developer of the project, but any opposition that there may be for it. That said, quasi-judicial means that the only thing that we can actually take is what's on the record within a public meeting. That means if there's something that perhaps I learned through a meeting with a resident or with a developer or their architect or somebody like that, I can raise that in the LPA setting on the dais to perhaps inform the other members of the LPA something that they hadn't thought about. But what's important in a quasi-judicial setting is that it is only the information that is put out in the public record on the dais that is considered when making a vote or a decision. That's my understanding of it, and I believe it's pretty solid.
Thank you.
Scott?
What's your opinion of the town's current budget and reserves? And if selected to serve, what priorities or improvements would you recommend for both the long-term and short-term sustainability?
Yeah, I actually followed that. Personally, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't contribute more to our reserves when given the opportunity. I think we've got a great resource in Joe. I think we have a transparency into the finances of this town that we didn't have pre-Ian. And we've seen the challenges that come to us. I mean, we got so lucky last season. But it's important that just as we do personally with our own homes, with our own finances, that we have what it takes to weather whatever storm may be, because they will come. They're not predictable. And I know the only reason that I'm still here on this island is that I was fortunate enough to be able to recover. Not everybody can, but it takes forethought, it takes thoughtful, it takes planning, it takes having a reserve. That's my answer.
Great, thank you.
John, as we continue to navigate recovery, redevelopment, and long-term resiliency, how would you approach your policy decision-making responsibilities to balance economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and the quality of life of residents?
Those three, I mean, you can't weigh one against the other. All three of them are just of utmost importance. I believe that we need a vibrant community that is, obviously, the environment is extremely important. That's the resource that brings us all here. This is why we're here. It's not just the basis of our way of life, but it is also the lifeblood of our economy as well as our quality of life. I mean, it's everything. I do believe that a vibrant, growing community, it requires investment. I would hate to see what I saw after Charlie occur here, which is lots that just stayed fallow for 10 years. Not my vision of this community going forward.
All right, follow-up questions. Rebecca, any follow-ups for John?
No, now I really don't have one. Thank you.
John?
Nothing.
Scott?
No.
I do have a follow-up on my last question. Same thing I've asked every candidate. You know, that question is quite honestly a softball when it comes to the political realm that we find ourselves in. But often you're put in a position to have to make a tough decision and stand behind that decision. So I'm going to ask you, if you were asked and required, not necessarily required, but asked to rate from 1 to 3 between the balancing the economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and the quality of life for residents, how would you rate those 1 to 3?
Well, I'm going to go environment first, quality of life second, and then economic viability third. It's not our job to make projects profitable, but it's our job to ensure that we have an environment where people feel comfortable to invest in our future. And I think that's an extremely important thing that we need to keep an eye on.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay. Is everybody coming back in now for the town council deliberation and the announcement of vote? Is what the next?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, welcome back, gentlemen. Again, thank you for taking the time to come here today. Obviously, put your name in to fill a very important seat in the town. I thought you all did great. As I said at the beginning to each one of you, I think each one of you are highly qualified and more than able to fill that seat as the next public servant for the town of Fort Myers Beach. With that, we'll bring it back to the council for any kind of discussion or deliberation. Oh, got it. Sorry, we're just being handed the ballot, in case anybody's wondering. So, council, any deliberation, any comments that you'd like to make before we move forward with making our vote? Rebecca?
I just want to thank all three of you. I think we're in a situation where we are in pretty good shape. We got three great candidates. And I want to thank you. I know that took a lot of preparation. I also want to thank the staff. This is kind of out of the day to day. And with that, I think we're ready to move on.
Okay. John? anything?
Yeah, town attorney handed me the voting conflict form, and I have to publicly disclose the nature of the conflict, and that became in January when Mr. Veach made the proposal to drop his appeal of the recall legal action, in essence, so he could for a vote for Tom Brady. And that created the conflict for me because of the potential financial gain. It would keep me in this seat, which is also another gain as well, a conflict. So that's why I have to disclose that. I would also like to say, as somebody that's got drugged down a path that he didn't want to go down, that I would caution there is a possibility of an ethics violation being filed or a recall petition with your vote, because many consider it a quid pro quo bribery effort with this appointment. So I'll just say that.
Scott, anything you'd like to?
No, I want to once again thank you. I'm so glad I didn't have to go through this.
Well, if it wasn't for luck, right?
Yeah.
I just want to take a minute to say that, for me, a public servant is someone that has to go outside their comfortability once in a while. They have to not necessarily vote all the time in the way they think is the best interest, but what is in the best interest of the town. And for me, finding a person that fits that role, I think we've been fortunate. We've had a lot of people that have come and gone that have done that, because it is a difficult decision. Sometimes you may, in your heart, or believe one thing, but what we believe individually is not what we were elected to do. So I think the person that would best fit this role and going forward when we get into November are people that can remember that can remember you are a public servant at the end of the day. You do work for the people. The people select you to sit up here. But you also have to balance all the things that we talked about today. And I appreciate all three of you taking the time to meet with all of us. I'm assuming you met with all of us individually to have conversations. I know I had a couple hour conversations with all three of you. And it was very, very enlightening. Today was very enlightening to me. I really appreciate the process that we've put in place to go forward should the unfortunate event ever happen. We have to do this again. I think it's enlightening to the public. I think it's enlightening to staff. Certainly, like I said, it was enlightening to me. But we have to make a decision, and we'll see where it goes. But again, thank all three of you for taking the time, and thank you to the people who reached out, both email and person here today. And I'm sure we'll hear from people after the meeting today on whatever decision is made. But it is a process, and looking forward to seeing it through to the end, which hopefully will happen very quickly. All right. If no one else has anything else, go ahead and make your vote, and we will. I need to fold it.
I'm going to fold
Okay. Okay.
so I won't know either. Okay, I have 4 ballots.
The first one's for Mayor, from Mayor Aller, sorry, for Jim Bowen. Next one comes from Vice Mayor Safford for John McLean. Councilman King, John McLean. And Councilmember Link for John McLean. So
Go ahead.
3 votes for John McLean, and 1 for Jim Bowen.
Go ahead, Nancy. Gonna say your
So
part?
that is a majority. Based on your charter, I'm going to cite to section 413. The action of council shall be binding and valid when adopted by an affirmative vote of at least 3 members of the council.
Okay. Do we need to?
Just to verify that that is your vote.
Okay, Rebecca, is that your vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And mine is a yes as well. So we have selected, congratulations, John.
We have to make a motion.
Do they need a motion?
Don't we
Yes,
have to make a motion to certify this?
you do have to make a motion, and then I believe the oath of office will be next.
All right.
So a motion
So moved.
to appoint.
Yeah, motion to appoint.
Hold on. Rebecca, you got to, so everybody can hear it. You have, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, let me just ask a question. Did we not have 1 for Tom Brady, 1 for Jim Bone, and 2 for John McLean?
No.
No, I misunderstood.
Do you want me to read them again?
Yes,
Read 'em
please.
again.
Thanks, Amy,
Okay.
just to be clear for me.
John King, John McLean, Scott Safford, John McLean, Rebecca Link, John McLean,
No. Tom Brady. No, Tom Brady. Now what do I do? No, it's Tom Brady.
Hold on just a second. I mean, we are Fort Myers Beach.
That's why I asked the question.
Can we
Yeah.
take a recess?
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute recess. We'll let Nancy wrap her head around this and we'll.
Thank you.
That's
Trying to kill me now?
No, hey, you know, it's.
Please take your seats, ladies and gentlemen.
I think I could have did that. Everyone, please take your seat. Come on, Ron, you're holding up the group here.
Lee, sit down.
Okay,
All right, we're going to call the meeting back to order. It is 10:32. Nancy?
so the new process that we have with the spreadsheet as well as the announcement of the vote by the clerk is all in the spirit of transparency. And also the cross-check to make sure that a ballot was not marked incorrectly, which unfortunately we've now lived that situation. So the ballot that was cast did not reflect her intent, her intended vote. So that in that last vote, there were not 3 votes in favor of any of the 3 candidates. So we will take a second vote. And I have the ballots.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I have the 4 ballots.
Okay. First is John King for John McLean. Vice Mayor Safford for John McLean. Mayor Allers for John McLean. And Rebecca Link for Tom Brady. So 3 for John McLean and 1 for Tom Brady.
Well, let's do this again. Rebecca, let's start with you. Does that signify your vote?
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay.
you, Mayor.
John?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Congratulations, Mr. McLean.
Second time. Motion. Okay, so now we would take a motion
Okay.
to formally appoint John McLean to serve as council member for seat 4.
I will make the motion to formally welcome Mr. McLean to council seat number 4, filling in for the vacated seat by Vice Mayor / Council Member Adderholt.
I'll second.
We got a vote by Mayor Allers, seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any discussion? I'm an aye. Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Now, congratulations. Now we'll do the oath of office. Do you have anyone here that you would like to?
Unfortunately, my wife got called out to a business trip, so she's not here.
Okay.
I would ask you to.
Sure can. Thank you. One for John. Perfect. If you'll raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution
I do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution
and the government of the United States and the state of Florida,
and the government of the United States and the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of Fort Myers Beach Town Council on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of Fort Myers Beach Town Council on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a 15-minute recess to allow John to get settled in up here. We will reconvene at 10:55. Yeah.
It's in the law.
Okay, everyone, we're going to call the meeting back to order. It is 10:44, about to switch to 10:55. Before we get on to the next item on the agenda, we're going to allow John some time here to say a few words if you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor. To council, assistance in working through this process. Council, thank you for your support. I will do my utmost to try and take in the responsibilities of representing the people in the best way that I possibly can going forward. I believe that we need diverse viewpoints on this island, and we need to listen to all the voices, and then come together with unity and strength and rebuild this island. I think we made a great start. I think we just need to continue it. And I want to be very clear, I will be running for office this fall. Thank you. Oh yeah, one other thing is I'm now in the seat in the town council. I have to officially resign my seat on the LPA. So there will now be an open position on the LPA.
All right, welcome aboard, John. Buckle up, my friend.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Our next item, thank you, John. Our next item is the approval of the final agenda. We have a few things now that are going to change. Item A under the public hearing, that applicant is not here, so we'll be opening and closing that, or with a date certain. And also now, obviously, with the appointment of Mr. McLean onto the council, there is the vacancy that he mentioned on the LPA. So staff needs to get direction from us to go ahead and publish that vacancy and notice it so that we can get that seat hopefully filled as soon as possible. Is there consent? John?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
All right, there's your consent. Now I got to get used to all the flow again. All right, with that, is there any other changes to the final agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Counselor King, seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak during public comment?
I have
Amy?
nobody signed up currently.
Anyone still here? Yes, sir. Come on up.
It's still green, I can speak. Okay, thank you. Mark Ludvigson, and my address is 281 Ohio Avenue. And I'm speaking for residents and myself within 2 streets. It comes down to a lot to do with, I'm a messenger here, and it's about understanding our building policies here. I've been a licensed contractor since 1989. And I retired recently, and it's just neighbors that are asking me questions. I'm looking on the website, and I have a hard time understanding it, let alone the residents that have issues and stuff like that. I've spoken to Jason here just a few minutes ago. He's resolved some of the issues that I had, so I'll go on to some other issues as private providers, which I feel we're having issues with it. One is there's things that the town come out to inspect and sign off. A private provider is supposedly supposed to come out and provide and take these inspections. Well, one of the issues are silt fences. They're neighbor of ours is having work done next door, brand new home, no silt fence has been put up. They contacted the town here, and it's been notified that there's a $250 fine per day if they do not, or when they do not install the silt fence. They're still working, and there's no silt fence up. Will we be fining them $250 a day? And the reason I ask is, after Ian, I had issues with my home, okay? Our governor said to do what we had to do to repair our home. I tried to put tarps over my roof. I couldn't get that. That was not working. I was a licensed contractor at the time. I had a licensed roofing contractor install my roof. Months later, I was found that I did not have a permit. While I was doing this, there was no building department. There was nobody to contact. I saved my home. Not only did I have to pay for the permit, it was doubled. I talked to the new town manager at that time. He said he was understanding, but he also said, I'm new. I can't kind of give in to this here at the moment. So my question being is, the issues that are happening and the fines that we're incorporating, are they being held up? Our residents, that these people that are looking at this house being built and it's not complying with what our rules are, okay? There's another one here.
I need you to wrap it up for us. Your time,
Excuse me?
Your 3 minutes are up. I just need you to wrap it up for us.
I don't get no more time?
No, sir. There's public comment at the end. You're welcome to come back up and continue on from there if you'd like.
I don't believe I'll be here.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in public comment?
Can I take anybody else's 3 minutes that want to talk?
Come on up. Well, you have to come up to the mic, or if it's an issue with, you can take it up with one of the staff members. Come on up now and just identify yourself and, okay.
This is just about 173 Gulf Island.
We just need your name, ma'am, for the
Oh,
record.
I'm sorry, Robin Gornto. I
Okay.
live on 158 Mandalay.
Okay,
The ginormous deck that they're proposing to build at 173 Gulf Island, this is a nice neighborhood that's been around since like the 40s. Involves 4 streets. Anyway, that's beside the point. This particular house already has 2 points of egress. They've got a really nice deck that faces the bay. Granted, the other deck is a little smaller, but I'm concerned that the proposal they're making is a huge deck that's going out almost to Gulf Island Drive. And is that really necessary? I mean, they're not doing it out of hardship. They just want I think a big party deck. And I think it's not appropriate for our particular neighborhood. They do rent this house. They rent it a lot. And I'm not looking forward to all the noise from the renters. It's bad enough, the noise from the pool area, but that's just how I feel about it. I'm opposed to that giant deck being built on that house.
all right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Local achievements and recognitions. John, we'll start with you.
Just quickly, I want to say congratulations and welcome back to Point Estero Beach Resort. Their $15 million in renovations is just fantastic, and thank you for letting us be a part of your opening.
Scott?
I want to give a shout out to town staff. Plus, this process was very transparent and well done. And then just this morning, I had 3 or 4 friends come in and they had some issues and helped them get going, and they're all taken care of. And staff is just, I'm getting so many great comments on how well the town staff is doing. And that's a reflection of you guys. So thank you.
Rebecca?
I would kind of piggyback off what Scott said, but specifically about this whole process of filling this seat. I think they did a great job making sure that the public was involved and felt involved. So I know it was a lot of extra time, and thank you for that.
John?
I just want to recognize that Saturday or this weekend was quite a weekend on the beach. We had fashion shows. We had,
Is your mic on, John? Make sure your
oh,
green light's
sorry.
on. Push the button.
Yeah, we had fashion shows. There was just so much activity on the island. It was wonderful to see. I just love the vibrancy, and it feels like we're in season. It's great.
Very good. Well, I just want to reiterate a couple of the comments that we had here today. Obviously, John, thank you for bringing up Point Estero. They did have a great ribbon cutting, long road, but they spent the time to do it right. I think they said they redid every single room in that resort or in that condo, which I didn't know, which is really neat. So they've got a really great layout over there. Thanks for inviting us all out for that ribbon cutting. And also, I want to say thank you to the staff as well. I recently made some comments about permitting that I probably didn't qualify enough or go as far as it did. My comments were not directed at our staff by any means. They were directed as a whole. And what I mean by that is I've talked since the storm, you've probably heard me say it a million times. When it comes to permitting, it's not just a staff issue. It's a contractor issue. It's a homeowner's responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. And unless we keep the missing part, I think we have right there is the communication part. If you're not communicating with staff, it's hard for them to get you the answers that you need. So if you have issues, make sure you come to the staff. And I'll give you a perfect example that I gave not that long ago. A person had been waiting for a permit or a closeout permit for over a year. They had no idea that there was a $60 unpaid fine, or not fine, but a $60 unpaid fee that was left to pay to be able to close it out. Contractor disappeared, can't get a hold of the contractor. Homeowners frustrated with the town, had nothing to do with the permitting staff, it had to do with the simple $60 fee. Once we knew about it, it was taken care of, the permit was closed out. So when I say there's permitting took a step back, that's what I mean, is it takes the communication from all of us to be able to talk back and forth amongst one another to make sure that we get this done. Staff is here to answer questions. I think as Scott just said today, people, you talk to staff, they'll direct you. You may not like their answer, but they will direct you in the right way to make sure that you get the resolution as fast as you can. So again, I apologize to staff. My comments came as a shot at them because that was not my intent. It was a shot at everything in general, not just one specific group. So keep up the hard work. Thank you for everything that you do. And let's hope we never have to discuss it again. Next is the advisory committee items, reports, and appointments. Mr. Nussbaum is here from MRF.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, councilors, town staff, and public. I'm Dave Nussbaum. I'm here to report on the February 11th MRF Advisory Committee for the town of Fort Myers Beach. We had 2 MRF awards that we gave out, one to Kathy Turner of the Garden Club for their generous donation of trees that we gave out during the planting of our Gumbo Limbo at the Blue Gym on Arbor Day. Secondly, we gave a MRF award to the FWC personnel for their above and beyond duty during shorebird nesting season. We had 2 presentations, one by Dr. Davies regarding the improved resiliency of dune restoration, and it only verified the town's efforts to plant dunes and create the resiliency. He was primarily showing the impact on narrow beaches between the landscape and the mean high water mark, but it did show that it was a preventative nature on wave action. And then Rebecca Schneider from FWC gave a presentation on the 2025 shorebird nesting season. Contrary to what some people have reported, we had an extremely positive season last season. We had record fledglings coming out of the 3 endangered species. We had no nests from black skimmers, but the beach renourishment and the bridge had almost no impact on the birds. They are fairly resilient as residents of our island and came through and had a successful season. Rebecca asked that for expanded use of the FWC herbicide. We allowed them to use herbicide last year for the 2nd year in a row. On the stakeholders section of the beach, it did not occur on the Little Estero Island, but in front of the private owners. And it was primarily used to kill the sand spurs. This was the first year that we recorded 0 deaths on any of the shorebirds due to sepsis from sand spurs. And that's quite an accomplishment, given the fact that every of the 4 varieties that are nesting on the south end, they're all critically endangered. And even one is hard to take, but we had 0 this year. So she said we're going to ask for approval to expand it with the stakeholders' approval down there, to expand it a little bit on the beach on an expanded use within the roped off area. They tried cleaning up some of the sand spurs by hand, but she said that was as disruptive to the birds and literally took away the whole purpose for roping off the area when you have people traipsing through the nesting area trying to dig up sand spurs. So she said, as the area has expanded this year on the south end, they wanted to ask the MRF committee for their endorsement of an expanded use, and we wholeheartedly said yes. And we're going to the council saying that's our recommendation to you. So basically, that's it. Abby is going to be putting out a survey regarding water taxis to the residents, and we look forward to seeing what everybody says on that. We think that could be, listening to some of the comments today, one of the things we can do to reduce traffic on the island. And with that, that's the end of my report. Any questions?
Counselor King, any questions for Dave?
None.
Scott?
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Rebecca?
I always do. Dave, good work on the MRF committee. I enjoy watching that meeting, and I really like that presentation Rebecca gave, and I'm not sure if that's publicly available, but I learned so much, and I would encourage anyone to go take a look at that presentation or
It's-
watch the meeting. It was inspiring and interesting. Thanks.
Thank you very much for all that you do.
Thanks, Dave. I don't know if that was as short as you promised, but thanks, Dave.
You put a quarter, you get a quarter's worth.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. All right. Next is the approval of the minutes from the town council meeting on February 2nd, 2026.
I didn't have any in my packet. Did anybody else?
I had them, but I did.
Yes.
Huh.
They looked good. They looked fun. All changes were all made. So motion to approve?
All right. Got a motion by Counselor Link,
Second.
seconded by Vice Mayor Safford. Any further discussion?
I
All the-
found them.
Would you like a minute to read through them?
No, it'll take longer than that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is a consent agenda. We have nothing on that, so there is nothing to be removed to discuss. Next is our public hearings. The next 3 items on our agenda are public hearings for review for various land use requests for the benefits of the public. For the benefit of the public, please be aware that these items are quasi-judicial in nature. Our attorney will further explain.
Thank you, Mayor. So the 3 items are one is a variance, the other is a special exception, and the last one is a rezoning. And as the mayor mentioned, these are all quasi-judicial in nature, and that requires that this public hearing comply with procedural requirements that have been established in Florida law and in our land development code. So these quasi-judicial proceedings, they will be less formal than a proceeding before a circuit court, but they will be more formal than the remainder of our meeting. And we must follow basic standards of due process that requires certain notices, the application of the correct standards, and the town council's decisions to be made on competent, substantial evidence presented to them in written documents or through oral testimony. The town council will then evaluate the testimony and the information for each item and draw a conclusion regarding whether the criteria that is in the land development code or in state law as may be applicable has been satisfied. So pure speculation or opinion that is not based on competent facts cannot legally be considered by the town council when evaluating an agenda item. Testimony by professionals who have been qualified as experts in a particular area has been considered competent evidence by Florida courts, as well as testimony by neighbors and residents who have fact-based information, such as minutes, surveys, engineering reports, or testimony that is based on their personal knowledge and information. The town's decision is final. If a decision for approval is not obtained, the reasoning for the denial should be stated on the record. The denial of an application is a denial with prejudice unless the council states otherwise. So members of the audience, those of you who intend to speak, please keep my comments in mind. When you come forward, state your name clearly for the record and whether or not you've been sworn in, and your qualifications or your interest in the matter. For purposes of efficiency, before we begin these public hearings, I'd like to go ahead and dispose of a few matters. First of all, I would like to ask the town clerk, have all of these agenda items been properly advertised pursuant to our land development code?
Yes, they have been.
And also, members of town council, if anyone has a conflict of interest that would prohibit them from voting on any of these three items, please disclose that now so that we can make sure that we have a quorum present for the review of the item.
Mr. McLean?
None.
Rebecca?
None.
Scott?
None.
John?
No conflicts.
I do not have a conflict either, but I just want to reiterate at the first reading of the Women's Club, I did disclose that my wife is a member of the board, but I do not have a conflict with that agenda item.
Correct. So the next item, just for housekeeping purposes, we'd like to go ahead and swear in anyone in the audience who intends to give testimony today on any of these quasi judicial items. If you would please stand and the clerk will administer the oath.
If y'all will raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, all parties have been sworn.
So we'll open the hearing
Okay.
there on the first item.
Yes, the first quasi judicial item is Resolution 26-020 for variance 2025022 as 173 Gulf Island Drive. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach approving with conditions or denying variance 2025020, requesting a variance from section 34-638 D6B.3 of the Land Development Code to reduce the required 20-foot side setback by 11.9 feet to allow a 232 square foot deck for the existing single-family residence in the RS zoning district for the property located at 173 Gulf Island Drive, generally referred to as strap number 29-46-24-W2-0050C.0120 in Fort Myers Beach, and providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, Scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. If any town council members had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made at the site. John?
I received one email against it.
Scott?
I may have received one email about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
So yes, regarding the ex parte discussions we've had lately, I'm going to make this a little more formal. Mayor and council, for the record, I have an ex parte communication related to this specific item. On February 12th, 26, I received an email from a third-generation resident of that neighborhood opposing the variance. I responded by email that I would take the comments into consideration, as well as any other information that comes before us. No promises, no guarantees were given. I also drove by the property yesterday to take a look at it for myself. I'll pass that down to Amy. Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
I have none that I can recall.
And I also had a email that I received from a resident opposing this request. But I do not know the specific date of that
It's
email.
probably the same one.
More than likely, but Jason Smalley has been qualified as an expert already by this town council, and based on his education and experience has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use planning and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness on behalf of the applicant at this time? We don't believe the applicant is here, so Jason, go ahead.
Hello, my name's Jason Smalley. I'm with the Planning and Zoning
Actually,
Department.
Jason, hang on for a second. if we're just going to open and close this, do we really need to go into staff?
No, we don't. I think it's staff's position, and I concur with that, that because the applicant is not present today, we are addressing private property rights. It would be my recommendation, and staff concurs, that we continue this item to allow the property owner the opportunity to be here and respond to any questions that you may have. I also want to note for the record that during public comment, there were some comments made by an individual who I would like to go ahead and ask you to incorporate that into the record for this item as well.
Okay. Do you need a motion for that?
We do. So it would be a motion to first to incorporate the prior comments into the record, and second to continue it to a date certain. And I look to Mr. Smalley as to what date that would be.
All right, let's first start with a motion. Is there a motion to incorporate the comments made at the general public comment to be included into this public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor McLean. Any further discussion? Counselor King,
Aye.
Counselor McLean,
Aye.
Counselor Link,
Aye.
Counselor Safford, or Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. What's that date?
Give me just a moment to confirm when the next one will be. Okay, sounds like we're going to move forward with March 16th.
Okay. Is there a motion to continue resolution 26-020 for variance 202-50220 for 173 Gulf Island to a date certain of March 16th at 9 a.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor McLean.
Is that the property owner or?
No, resident.
Okay, could I ask, Mayor, if perhaps they want to put their testimony on the record? Public comment. Do you want to come back on the 16th, or Mayor, I'll defer to you.
I can't see anybody behind the pole, so I'm not sure who you talked to. Oh, there. Okay, well, we've opened it. Let's get save you some time. Time is valuable.
Okay.
We're going to open up public comment.
I'll reopen
Just pull
it.
that
Okay.
down for me so they can.
All right. Anita Turner, 146 Mandalay Road, which is in the Gulf Island Manor Association development, which is where this property is located. And we're an older community of 4 streets, Mandalay, Gulf Island, Bayside, and 6 on Estero. And it's been in the same family, most of the houses, for years and years and years. I've been a resident and built there in 92, but we've been coming since the mid 70s. It's always been a quiet neighborhood, very few rentals. That's changed a little bit. We're trying to keep it down as much as possible. That corner is on Bayside and Gulf Island is rather busy, and there's kids playing in the court. They use that a lot. I'd hate to see them put in a big old deck. I really don't think that they've got to be a really nice deck overlooking the bay, and that should be enough for them. But we want to keep it small. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I can't see behind the pole if there's anybody got their hands up. or
Do you
not.
want to come speak? You did.
Yeah. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Susan Crawford. I live next to the property, 173. There's a general feeling that it would be disastrous to allow these people to approve their request, which would put the end of their deck 8 feet from the road, because of the amount that because of the 20 foot is the limit, and they're wanting to have it much closer and much bigger. It's a rental. They just put in for short-term rental. Certainly if they had a huge deck on that corner, they'd be able to accommodate a lot of people because they've revised, remodeled the inside so that it can take quite a few. If this were granted for no exceptional reason other than they would like to have a bigger deck, then that will be the standard. Other people will want to, do that, will not understand if they're denied the right to do the same thing. So the whole tone of the neighborhood, the whole character of the neighborhood will gradually change and become crowded, citified. As Anita said, we're an older community. It's not what we want. I've been there 40 years. Many people I know have been there longer, and we say no. But we don't want this. The people they've just newly bought the house in the last couple of years, and they are not living there. They're just renting, and it doesn't make sense. There's no good reason to change the character of what we have. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilor King?
Aye.
Councilor McLean? Aye. Councilor Ling?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Next is Resolution 26-015 for SEZ 202-50271 for 166/168 Coconut Drive. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions, or denying special exception, SEZ 202-50271, a request to increase the number of bedrooms in a two-family residence while utilizing the post-disaster build-back code of the LDC Section 34-3238 2E4A for the property located at 166/168 Coconut Drive, generally referred to as strap number 29-46-24-W2-007A 0A.0160 in Fort Myers Beach, providing for scrivener's errors, severability, and an effective date. If any town council member has had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made of the site. Mr. McLean?
None.
Rebecca?
Just a drive-by.
Scott?
I'm quite familiar with the property. I live one street over and 2 doors down. One of the neighbors did have a concern and they voiced that to me, but I never got an official email nor had a meeting.
John?
Nothing.
And I have nothing as well. Jason Smalley has already been qualified as an expert by this town council based on his education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use, planning, and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness on behalf of the applicant at this time? Anyone? All right. Is property owner here?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Nancy, do we want to do, property owner's not here?
I would agree. If the property owner is not here, I mean, the decision you make will impact their private property rights, the value of their property. So, Jason, have you heard from them or?
Not since the last meeting, although anecdotally he did say that he was looking forward to the project moving forward. So I don't know if he wishes to push that back or if that's the wish of the council to push that back as well. But I haven't heard anything from him directly.
So,
I think
Mayor,
out of consistency, I'd feel comfortable making sure that they at least have the opportunity to tell us whether they want to be here or not.
Okay.
Anyone have any objection to that?
No, I agree with you.
Public comment, we will open public comment for it though. Is there anyone here that would like to speak during public comment for this special exception? right.
Mayor,
Seeing-
are the applicants notified that they are on the agenda? They are notified, so they do know.
Yes, they are.
So then they've chosen not to appear, it seems.
Well, but I think out of, property rights and, we all know things happen, that there could be a circumstance where something happened on
Something
the way
happens,
here.
true.
So I would rather give them the benefit of the doubt than them not having a
take
chance
the
to speak their case. All right, I will close public comment. Is there a motion? What, do you want to use the same date, the 16th?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to continue resolution 26-015 SEZ 202-50271 for 166/168 Coconut Drive to the date certain of March 16th at 9 a.m.?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor McLean. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor McLean?
Aye.
Counselor Link?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. That brings us to our last quasi judicial item, which is ordinance 25-20 for CPD 2025-0203 for 175 Sterling Avenue, FMB Women's Club. This is the second reading and final public hearing on proposed ordinance 25-20. This is an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions or denying a rezoning to commercial plan development, CPD, for the property located at 175 Sterling Avenue, a parcel generally identified as strap number 33-46-24-W2-00004.0000, town of Fort Myers Beach, from institutional to allow for the redevelopment of the property for the Fort Myers Beach Women's Club, providing for conflict of law, scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. If any town council member has had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, and correspondence that you received or observations made of the site. Mr. McLean?
While I was a member of the LPA, I had a meeting with Studio AD and the representatives. I can't recall the date of that. I could look it up, though.
Rebecca?
None, Mayor.
Okay. Vice Mayor Safford?
I believe I had one email about the size of the parking lot, and I had some private conversations. Again, no official meeting with some neighbors. So,
John?
I too received an email against the project, against this project, and then had a discussion with Mr. Vanass just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and I've received an email from someone that was opposing it, but my understanding is they didn't necessarily understand what the ask was from the first meeting. I did reply, did not get a reply back from them after explaining what was potentially changing versus the second reading. Obviously, I've had many conversations with my wife, who's on the board about this, and other members, and I've been to the site many, many times, and looks like we'll probably be there again coming up very soon, a lot of us. So that's all I have.
So before we go further, there's been a lot of disclosures that have been made. Clearly, everyone knows about the Women's Club. So I do want to offer them the opportunity if they want to have any questions raised of any of the disclosures that have been made.
And when you say they, I assume you mean the Women's Club?
The Women's Club or their representatives.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Jason Smalley has been qualified as an expert already by this town council based on his education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use planning and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness on behalf of the applicant that were not qualified at the first meeting? Well, everyone that has raised their hand, but Mr. Inc. and Mr. Ambrose, I've been more than once approved as an expert in their field. I don't know that we need to go through that again, unless you guys want to give us your resume one more time. You sure? Okay. And you have seen a copy of the backup materials from staff? Yes. Okay. They said yes. Go ahead, Jason.
Good morning. As was mentioned by the mayor, this is a request before you today for the approval of a CPD rezoning. Before you is the request to redevelop the Women's Club lot, which would include roughly 14,000 gross square foot structure. It would also include uses that span across the lot, And did want to point out that the applicant from the last meeting was encouraged to bring back a new rendering for the consumption on premises to cover the entire lot. That was the suggestion at the last meeting. They did take that to heart and have brought back a new updated site plan, and I don't believe it actually has made it into your packet. So I would encourage the applicant, when they come up here for their time, if they would go ahead and pass those out to the voting members. We will incorporate that as part of the final package if this is approved. I would note that this morning when I talked to the applicant's representative, they made the point that the COP area had been expanded to include the parking lot, but they wanted to have it set up to where they would have to come back and request temporary use to utilize that parking area. So it would open up the ability to do it. They are offering to come back on each time that they want to utilize it so that the town council has the opportunity to give their blessing to the use of that parking area. Otherwise, the COP area is being extended as a by right activity in the CPD to the grassed areas, to the building, and to the elevated deck on the building. So that's what they brought before you today to discuss. There was also a discussion at the last meeting about whether or not the town could put a condition of approval into there that would limit the sale of the property in the eventuality that they did want to sell it in the future. That would limit it to a nonprofit or some sort of nonprofit organization. We did not put that language in there. Staff felt that that was something that needed to be discussed with the attorney present about what possibilities there were, but staff is here for that discussion if and when it comes up during this meeting. So the applicant is here. They are here for any questions that you may have. One last thing I did want to point out, this is a housekeeping issue from the first meeting. They have sent in an architectural package. And the architectural package that is included as part of the package before you would be accepted as what will be built to the greatest extent possible. So if there are any questions or any concerns about the architecturals that you've seen so far on this project, this would be the time to discuss them. If there are no problems with that and this project is approved as is, you would also be approving the architectural package, and it will be built to that to the greatest extent possible. I know I've gone over a lot of ground here since that first meeting. Are there any questions for staff?
Mr. McLean, any questions for?
No,
Jason?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Councilor Link?
No, I just would like to continue the discussion about nonprofit language with Nancy at the appropriate
Okay.
time.
Vice Mayor Safford?
Me as well.
John?
No questions currently.
I don't have any at this time. Come on up.
Good morning, for the record.
I think.
James
Still good
Inc.
morning.
I think it's still morning.
Yeah, still good morning.
I brought along the presentation with just a couple edits that I did in the first go round, but I'd like to leave it up to the mayor and council if they want me to go through that again. I know Mr. McLean saw it at the LPA of those parts, so it's up to you whether you want to go through it or we'll just talk about the two items that have changed since the last meeting.
I'm comfortable going over just the two items. I don't necessarily need to. I did
Okay.
see it at the LPA, but Rebecca?
Agree.
I concur.
Johns?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The two items that we discussed on the first part was the COP, which the consumption on premises is really the basis of why we're here in the first place. As you know, the Women's Club's been here forever. It's operated for a very long time, well before the town existed. And as part of what they wanted to do is they wanted to bring in the COP, which would have required a special exception to do the COP just as that. And the basis of that is we were a legal conforming use on the property. There was some discussion of whether that was true or not when we went through with staff, because the definition of a cultural facility is kind of broad and can be interpreted different ways. So since we had to do the special exception, it just made more sense. We'll go the one step farther. It's the one meeting farther, and we'll do a CPD and we'll clean everything up. We'll bring the membership organization into the process. So that's why we came here for the COP. We did hear in the last meeting that council was like, well, why don't you do the whole parking lot? And we're like, fine. I mean, that's a good idea. So what we've done is we've done that. And as Jason says, I think I have at least 5. I have the new master concept plans that I would hand out if that's okay.
I love a master plan copy.
As they're being passed out, the change really exists. It's a little hard to see on the print, but not that hard. There's a crosshatch area that was the COP that was on the event lawn, and it was on the deck upstairs. And all we did is extend that out to the parking area. It's the only change that was made. So,
Question
Yes, sir.
for you is, and maybe it's just a technicality. In some areas I see you've got actual COP in parentheses, but in some areas you don't. Is it critical to staff or anyone to have the letter COP, like on the upper deck, you've got it, in the opening event you have it, but you don't actually have it on the building itself or the parking lot? Is it, I'm just asking, I don't know if it's critical to
in
have
the
it
bottom left-hand corner, there's a little legend that talks about what the hatching means.
Yeah, it's, well, again, I see it on the bottom left, but I don't see any hatching on the building itself.
The
Again,
building
just-
inside itself is not covered on a consumption on premises. It's outside,
Just outside.
outside.
So there's no consumption on premise?
No, there's
inside the building?
consumption on premises inside, but it doesn't require.
So it does- I'm just making
Yeah.
sure there's not a technicality here that's being
No.
overlooked of
No,
having
you can have the consumption
acronyms
inside.
placed on here. I've learned over the last few years that acronyms are very important.
Things happen.
Yeah. Okay, if everybody doesn't have an issue with it, I don't have an issue. Just wanna
Yeah,
make
that's why it's not there, is it's inside the building, which does not require any action whatsoever.
sure. Got it.
So that's the COP part. The other secondary part was the membership organization, and there was a comment made about restricting it to nonprofit. I went back and I researched it and I looked to and fro on a membership organization, which is essentially just an organization that has members. Structure, no structure, bylaws, no bylaws. It's just a membership organization. Nonprofit is a whole other situation of that's an IRS ruling. That's how you go to become considered a nonprofit. And there is a multitude, far more than I even knew when I read the IRS information on this. There's lots of different kinds of nonprofits. And it came up to the conclusion, I'm not an IRS expert, but it just came up to my reasonable conclusion that you can do pretty much any business as a for-profit or a nonprofit if you meet the qualifications that the IRS required for the nonprofit. But you can still do the same thing. So when we went through that, we kind of made the conclusion that to not limit property rights, to not have unintended consequences, that we were just going to leave it alone as a membership organization. Going through the comp plan and going through the land development code, nonprofit has very, very little language on what's considered a nonprofit. I think the only one, there's like 4 things, and the only one that was relevant is a school can be a for-profit, a nonprofit, a religious, and that's the definition. That's the only place it really shows up that nonprofit shows up. So just came to the conclusion that adding something that is not really defined, and if we got down the road somewhere and it became part of, and I'm not here, you guys aren't here. It just became a private property issue that could have some serious unintended consequences. So that's where we are. What I'd like to do is, there's other people probably going to speak on this, is we can do the public hearing and then reserve my right for rebuttal, and we can go through that. And at that point, we can address anything. If you have questions now, I'll address them, but anything after we get there, we could talk about.
Counselor King, any questions for Mr. Inc?
Nothing currently.
Not right now.
Counselor Link?
Not now.
McLean?
I'm good.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now open up public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this matter? If so, please come forward to the podium and identify yourself, provide your address and whether you were sworn in. Ron?
Good morning. Ron Bennock, 210 Sterling Avenue. I live across the street from the proposed women's club that's going to be coming up. I was at the LPA back in December. A letter was put on record for me back in January because I wasn't here for the council meeting, but I am here now. One side note real quick, maybe why those other two people weren't here was because the sign that is on the women's club said that this meeting was supposed to have been yesterday.
We have a problem with this date.
So I ended up coming down here to find out when this meeting was. And they said, oh, that's President's Day. So the meeting's today. But on the property, it says the 16th. So.
Hold up there for a second. Nancy?
So we did the right thing on those other two cases by continuing them. I don't know, what is on the sign for those two other cases. However, in this one, the date is incorrect. I guess I'd defer to Amy on the ad. Did we get today's date on the ad?
Do we have any pictures of this sign? Anyone?
I do.
She's going to look it up. The property representatives and the owners are here. So notice has been given, but
sure.
the signs are in addition to what's required by, no, I believe you, sir.
I just wanted to see it.
But Florida statutes does require a proper advertising. And if the date didn't get changed, then we might have to re-advertise it.
The date in the news press was for today, February 17th at 9 a.m.
So we've complied with state law. Possibly we've made an error with our code of ordinances and the noticing that's required there. However, that is above and beyond what is required by statute. So I don't think that in and of itself would create an issue regarding the noticing. But I do thank you for pointing that out. And yes, that may have been the reason why the other two were not here. But council, I think you did the right thing by continuing those hearings.
We'll finish up, Ron, and we'll have a
Okay.
discussion.
So, as I said in December in my letter that was read in last month, that I fully support the Women's Club and what they do and everything they do. I would support their stuff moving out to the parking lot. I have nothing against the Women's Club at all. They do great work. As a matter of fact, a couple of us are going to join. I'm going to get my membership put into the Women's Club. But my concern is the changing from institutional to commercial. Again, and this is my concern was that if it ever gets sold, now they're selling a piece of commercial property and right across the street from me is going to be whatever. Well, all of a sudden now, coming up in March, they're going to be voting on putting together a board for when they if they go to sell it. Now they're trying to raise money to build it, and I'm all for that. But then let's put a committee together for if we go to sell this property. So they're looking at trying to sell it, also trying to raise money. It's just, there's just too much going on. So even though I support them, if we can't do something to where in a deed that if they sell it, that it reverts back to institutional, something to protect the neighborhood from this commercial property that they're trying to get it changed to commercial property. And if not, I would say if we could table this for next month, let's do some more research to see what we can do to protect the neighborhood from them selling a commercial piece of property. That's my concern. I have nothing against the Women's Club. I hope they do good. If they change it to commercial and they have it forever, that's great. But if they ever go to sell it and now they're selling a commercial piece of property, I have a big problem with that. And that's where I'm at. Thank you for your
Thanks,
time.
Ron. Thanks for bringing that to our attention also. Anyone else? Public comment? Pat?
Good morning. My name is Patrick Vaness. I reside at 5711 Lauder Street, which is 2 houses removed from the Women's Club. Just wanted to start by saying 100% support the Women's Club and the mission. And I've emailed all of you and reiterated that. Just like to explain and clarify the concern from myself and also from my neighbors. So right now, the idea is to rezone to CPD. There's a list of uses within the CPD. The main ones are membership organization and recreational facility. So without any additional language or caveats to those uses, technically it could be sold next year to a private entity and someone could build a private club. There will be nothing in the zoning limiting that. And a private club, I don't know if I necessarily object to that. I just think that it is materially different, private club versus a nonprofit organization that we all know and love. So what I would like, and maybe the suggested language of limited to nonprofits only is not the right language, but we can define the use. That's the beauty of a CPD. We can define exactly what we mean, and other communities have terms such as fraternal organizations, cultural organizations, and this is the prerogative that we have. As part of CPD, we define what that use is. And I think if you keep the use consistent with what the Women's Club is today, neighbors 100% support it. But if it's open-ended and it could be sold to a private entity, that private club could be materially different. We don't know what the impacts could be. And I think the right thing is to just come back at that point if there's a sale, present what is desired, and let the neighbors comment on it, and let the council also opine on it. And again, like I said, I don't think I necessarily have a problem with a private club. I just would like to know what it is and have a chance to provide my opinion. So I think there are easy solutions here. I think we 100% support the mission. Let's put up some guardrails and let's find the right definition. I have talking to your staff. Jason is aware that other communities such as Collier County and Lee County have much broader use definitions than we have, and we could maybe borrow one of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do you want to say anything before I say something? Go ahead.
I would just like at this point, I mean, we talked about this and it really comes down to looking at the private property in the future and what might be and may happen in the future that we don't know. I would like to bring up a board member and let her talk to a little bit about what is going on with the bylaw review and changes and discussions, which is not unlike the town does with a charter review or anything. You go through your documents and you clean things up from time to time. There's no indication that there's any nefarious, we're going to sell it to some developer that's going to do something different is not there. It just may be some untimed consequences that really didn't need to happen. But I think we stay on our point of membership organization as it is in the Land Development Code says what it says. Now, whether we want to restrict that to something, That's a different discussion that, let me bring up.
Well,
and-
Before,
and-
hold on,
and-
before, I just want to kind of gauge the council's willingness to continue based on the, I know Nancy said it doesn't necessarily have anything, but I kind of like to know where everybody, I don't want,
I'm 100%. I mean, I'd like to just get this done.
I'm sure you would. But
So
allowed to go home
my
if that's
question,
not
if I may, is
Yeah.
isn't the Moose Lodge a membership organization? So what's,
well, let's talk about this advertising thing. I want to get that clear. Does
On the
council wanna
advertising
move-
thing
hold on,
from,
hold
oh,
on. Does the council wish to continue to move forward with the advertising issue that Mr. Ron brought up? Before everybody's time is valuable, right, Jim?
mhm.
So I want to make sure before we continue down this conversation that everybody is comfortable moving forward with the issue that was brought to our attention about the sign.
May I add one item about this specifically?
Sure, go ahead.
We got the paperwork from the town when we made the signs up. We put out there what was there. I think what happened was they put it at Monday, the 16th, and we put the sign up at the LPA hearing date. It's all three of them. But the advertising, as the counselor has said, is we've met the criteria for advertising in our opinion.
My only concern is not everybody reads the news press. Not everybody knows how to use Facebook. And I would hate, whether it's an approval or a denial, for there to be a challenge issued potentially based on a simple sign. That's my only concern.
Yeah, we'll defer to your direction. We're not in that big of a hurry if the err on caution is to come back on the 16th.
John, Mr. King, how do you feel?
I'm comfortable with moving forward, but whatever the council wants to do.
Scott?
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I would hate for something like this to be caught up in a technicality. I think it's just prudent to, let's get the sign right. Let's try to work out some of these other details and make a date certain.
Councilor Link?
I agree with our council that we've met the burden, and if that is the case, and the parties are all here, I'm okay with going forward.
Welcome to your first decision, Mr. McLean.
I also am okay with going forward, knowing that the parties are all present and are able to participate.
But are they all here? Because there could have been some neighbors that I always like to err on the side of caution, but I understand time is money. And
So if I can add my 2 cents, unless the applicant strongly disagrees, I would prefer not to have to defend a frivolous claim. People will argue all kinds of things. And sometimes we spend a lot of time and staff resources. So I'm going to be a little conservative and I prefer to err on the side of caution.
Based on the counselor's further recommendation, I'll change mine to defer.
I agree. I agree.
I always listen to the good, wise counsel's advice.
Well, maybe I should have started there.
I think we're done.
Yeah, well.
Other than voting.
And I think to the vice mayor's point, it'll give you guys some
That's
time
fine.
to maybe sit down with Ron and Pat and any other neighbor that wants to sit down. The Women's Club are very good about having meetings and talking. Maybe they should have one with the neighbors to discuss the issues that were brought up here today. It sounds like people are in support, just a couple of things to maybe potentially iron out, or maybe they won't iron out, but it's worth having a discussion.
Sounds like a good idea.
All
Mayor,
right.
may I have a question, or
Yes.
should I save it for the next meeting?
You know, it's up to you. If you think it's important to ask now, then
It's a clarifying question because it may require some work on your behalf. So we talked about, Patrick, you said about defining uses. Is it ever allowable to define what we do not want it to be? Like, could we say we do, under no circumstances would it be a gentleman's club or a gambling facility? Like, we just took the few things that we know we never want them there. Can you say what, can you define what it shall not be?
To me, this whole thing kind of resonates around property rights and what people's rights are for their properties and what they're not.
Mhm.
I don't know. it's the government's job to get into saying what might happen 20 years from now or might happen 30 years from now. It is our job to talk about what's within the CPD, to Patrick's point.
Right.
But where's that fine line? I'm not a lawyer. That's between the lawyers and you guys to figure out, but I would just keep all that in mind as you discuss it over the next.
I think the mayor is wise that a meeting in this interim is with the two parties is wise and will happen.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, sir. So I think we've got the direction that we're going to, is there a motion to continue ordinance 25? Do we want to use the same date, March 16th? Yes, okay. There's been a consensus to, is there a motion to continue ordinance 25-20 for CPD 2025-0203 for 175 Sterling Avenue, the FMB Women's Club, to a date certain of March 16th at 9 a.m.?
I'll move that, Mayor.